Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. He's from the city, she's from the south. Two different chapters told miles out. Their back row living in his White House. So many stories that I need to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. So many stories right in front of me. Some people climb to heights I've never seen. Too many falling down off their feet. These stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are.
Where's everyone else?
Tiptoe around with face of a stranger. Quiet observer, never get too close. I see the world, but it's through this window. Another side to see, I'm ready to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. He's from the city, she's from the south. Two different chapters told miles out. Their back row living in his White House. So many stories that I need to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are.
All right, we are live, everyone, and I took everybody by surprise by going live.
You did.
I was like, what?
You know, the thing about it is, I thought the little Silverline bumper that was supposed to play right after the music immediately. I thought it was supposed to play, and I was like, okay, well, it's down to double zeros. Where's the bumper? Where's the little bumper at? And it never came. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I need to turn this off and get into it. So yeah, here we are. So I'm using StreamYard again today because this was kind of a last minute thing. Brett had something that was urgent that came up that he had to split, so he couldn't be here. So I spent the last 9:03. I spent the last 45 minutes trying to put all this back together and see if I couldn't figure it all out again. So so I think that I've got it. I think I'm not real sure. But yeah, so and unfortunately that using StreamYard means that one of our usuals can't join us. Mike, I don't know if Mike's still trying, but Mike W. Belcher has problems using StreamYard for reasons that we don't know, and reasons that none of us can answer. And Pete even has problems connecting his.
He's booting me off the phone.
Yeah, so we have problems with that. So StreamYard is not our first option, but it's the option that we have tonight, and so it's what we're going with, and we're just going to make the best of it and still have a lot of fun. I may end up playing with some of the layouts and doing things like this when I can figure out, how to do things.
Well, that's a lot of rolling.
Yes, it is a lot of rolling. I don't need that much rolling. But see, the thing about it is, I'm like, okay, there's two selections here, so how to make this you? Aaron, I know it's Aaron Humphres, but how do I?
Now you get all the Aaron you can have.
So yeah,
hey,
so
we lost all our watchers. Darn, sorry about that.
yeah. Everybody, they were like, ah! So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and take a minute to introduce ourselves, and then we'll kind of get into stuff. We got to talk about the mystery boxes tonight. Obviously, got a little bit of updates on those, but so I'm Roland. I am the writer of Cat and Mouse, Trumps, Rejects, Silverline Team Up, maybe one or two other things that I'm not remembering at the moment. But I'm kind of the chief wrangler, and it's kind of like herding cats. So yeah, that's me. Kurtis, you're next. You can all see you're all on the same layout as me. It's me, Kurtis, Pete, Roberta, Aaron, right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
yeah, I'm Kurtis Fujita. I'm the creative director at Silverline, also known as the Raging Eurasian. I'm also a artist with experience in comic books, video games, and animation, and I edit the Kino series.
Cool.
All right.
And I put just the pencilers at the bottom. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
Okay, Roberta, tell everybody who you are.
Hi,
She
I'm
frozen?
Roberta
Oh,
Conroy.
there.
I'm in Los California. The colorist.
I'm getting a little robotic
Yeah.
from you.
Seriously,
Yeah.
Cat and Mouse. No audio.
No, yeah, audio. It's just you're
Yeah.
sounding like Mr. Roboto.
Oh.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
let's see. Maybe. Let me see what my computer can sound like now. Is that better?
You sound good now. Now you sound perfect.
Yeah. Now it sounds good. It's just like you
Well,
must
maybe
have.
something happened to my phones now.
You may have just had a little internet hiccup.
Bad connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so for
Well,
those
my
of you who
internet
quite...
says 4 right
Oh,
now.
okay, that could explain it.
Let me try
So-
and fix it. If
Okay.
it's bumps me off, get me back on.
Wait, you hit the same link that I sent you. So you just if
G option.
you fall off, just come back
Okay,
on.
good. I'm still up. There we
I'll
go.
tell everybody.
I'm good.
I'll tell everybody who you are while you're trying to take care of that. So
Thank
so
Yes, please.
go ahead. No, go ahead. Okay, so I heard something about Roberta being from California, but she is and she is a designer by day, and she is coloring Cat and Mouse and she is coloring the Silverline, the aforementioned Cat and Mouse, and the aforementioned Silverline team up.
Oh yeah, I know that book.
Okay, Pete, you're up next. Who are you?
Speaking of Silverline team up,
That's right.
I'm just a penciler on that book, so you can skip over me. I'm Pete. I'm the.
You can never skip over the penciler.
Well,
No.
I'm the penciler on Silverline team up. I haven't done this for a while.
Yeah,
Silverline team up for Champion and Miss Fury. And if my phone worked, I'd show you what I'm working on this evening. But we're well into issue 2 now.
I know. Oh my goodness.
So we're flying along.
That splash page, dude.
I had to do that one. I've been doing all the roughs for every page, and then I thought, no, actually, I'm going to pencil that. That looks fun.
Oh my goodness! As soon as I saw it, Pete, I yelled at my wife. I said, "BJ, come here! You got to come look at this! Come here! Look! Look! Look!" Curtis is like, "I want to see it. I don't know what you're talking about." I had to yell at her. I said, "Come here! You got to see this!" I'm like, I said, "It dropped today," and I'm like, we really hadn't kind of talked about it much. But I said, it caught me completely by surprise. It's like, boom! There it is. There's this page 1 splash page and page 2 of issue 2, and I'm like, ah! So
hopefully, I left you enough space for your lettering.
Yes, yeah.
I thought he'll put that in the corner. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just go in the corner.
Yeah, he'll reduce it to point size 6.
Yeah.
No, it's gorgeous, and I'll unfortunately for those who are listening, I'm not going to show you yet because I'm just not. Yet. Yeah, so I'm just not going to show you yet. But hang on, I'll show y'all after. So let's see here. There's supposed to be. Oh, there's comments. All right, so good. So there's things I can do here. We haven't finished. Y'all got rearranged. Here we go, Aaron. I'll put you back down there. Hold on.
I jumped ahead of line. I apologize.
You did. I don't know how that happened. So, Aaron, tell everybody who you are.
I am the penciler on Fire Rush, which we have successfully kickstarted issue 1, and issue 2 hopefully is coming soon here. And then hopefully looks like we're going to be doing something. I think next month is what we're going to be talking about new stuff with me and Silverline. And then I also do my own comic, Gollings, which I am on page 4 in issue 10. So I'm going. I'm moving into it. Yeah.
Page 4 in issue 10, and that's a total of 12 issues, right?
12 issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
So cool.
It'll get done. One day it'll be done.
And 9 is available for everyone to read now online, right?
You can read the first part of our Webtoons. So I update
Webtoons, okay.
3 pages a day. So on Webtoons, I'm updating it in the next few weeks. And then when I get the money or the time to get the printed copies in, I'll post those on my store so you can order print copies, which is usually 25 copies. That's all I get. So once they're gone, they're gone.
Wow.
All I heard there was you draw 3 pages a day.
That's usually what I do.
Christ.
Take note, Pete.
Yeah.
Hey, do me a favor. What do you guys leave a comment on either YouTube or Facebook, please? I want to see if they're supposed to be showing up here, but I don't know what those look like. Because we usually use the Restream for all that, and I don't know if I need to go. Well, I can't use Restream because we're not on it. So I don't know how they're going to show up. So anyway, if one of you will do that, so I can see. Okay, very good.
There you go.
Yep. So see, then what I can do is this.
Just comment on our own.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Good deal. Thank y'all. Excellent. So we got a good group tonight. Thank you guys for showing up. Real quick, let's update. Let me hit refresh here on the page to make sure that no one has snuck in and have any pending. All right. So what we've got for the mystery boxes. Yeah. So I asked for them to grab me one. They grabbed box number 20, which has been claimed by Kirk. So at this moment, as I am living and breathe here, it's 9:12 p.m. Eastern Time. Box 1 has been claimed by Brad Tomte. Box 2 by Kirk. Box 3, Randall Bishop. Box 4 by Kirk. Box 5 is Owen Ryan. Box 6 is Lee Ditzworth. Box 7, Dirt outbid a couple of people and got it to 60. So box 7 is a 60. There are no bidders on box 8 and 9. Box 10 is currently being claimed by Kirk. Box 11 by John Medic. Box 12 by Eric Dotson. No one has box 13 yet. Box 14, Lee Ditzworth. No one is at 15 and 16. Box 17 is Jason Gillespie. No one has 18 and 19, and then box 20 is Kirk. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there, I mean, 13 of the boxes have been claimed. So there's still 7. Yep, out of 20. Yeah, so there's still 7 that have not been claimed. And remember, if you're feeling generous to the Silverline crew, you can always outbid somebody. You're like, no, I want to outbid Dirt, who's bid 60. I'm going to bid 75 for it. You can always do that if you choose. But so anyway, that's an update. As a reminder, all 20 of these boxes have 3 pages of original art.
What?
Yes, 3 pages of original art. In 10 of those boxes, there is a one of those pages is a page of original art from Cat and Mouse Volume 1. Okay, so that means if you're a fan of the first volume of Cat and Mouse, you've got a 50% chance getting one of the boxes to get an original page from the first volume of Cat and Mouse. One of those pages is a page from issue number 1. Okay, that means you've got a 10% chance to get an original page of art from Cat and Mouse issue number 1 from 1988. So that's for the original art. So hold on to that. I'm going to come back to original art in just a second. But that's the 3 pages that is in every box, okay? Additionally, let me see if I can show this without kind of giving it away too much. I think I can. Additionally, can you see in there? Yeah, you can see in there a little bit, yeah. There's a bag of comics, right? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 comics in there. One of which is I don't know what else to call it. It's a classic comic, which really means it's kind of an old comic. From the, either the late 80s or early 90s by me, and I've signed them all already. In addition to that, there is a classic graphic novel, a Silverline classic graphic novel that's all in there. In addition to that, there are a handful of goodies. Now, you guys have seen us doing, talking about these bracelets since, the last 6 months. There are things like that. There's a handful of goodies in here that I think you're going to like. Yep, it's a lot of cool stuff. Every box, okay, and there are 3 first for Silverline, okay? I'm going to show you one of them just because it's so cool. But there are 3 first. I'm not going to tell you what 2 of them are, but they are so cool. I'll show you guys once we get offline, right? But one of them is a signature book. I don't know if you can see the reflection here. Malibu Comics used to do, or did, a couple of signature series back in the 90s, and those were hits with fans. So we kind of talked about it in our group, and we said, let's do something like that. That sounds like it would be a lot of fun. And so that's what we've got. Now this is, as you can see, if I can get my number up there, you see, that's slash of 20. Now, what we're going to do, when we haven't done it yet, we're going to number these 1 to 20. We only printed 20 copies. What that means is I'm not going to get a copy of this. Roberta's not going to get a copy of this. Pete's not going to get a copy. Curtis is not going to get a copy of this. No. We're not going to get copies of this one. Now, to be clear, I am going to do a different version of this, which means I'm going to take this artwork off of it and probably just print a plain cover, kind of like what Malibu did also. But this is the special for the mystery boxes, all right? So there's only 20 of these. Now, I showed you the number there. This number, we're going to number them 1 to 20, right? The numbers are going to correspond with the numbers of the boxes. So if you want, if you like 7 is my lucky number, and you want to get number 7 of 20, then you're going to be bidding on box 7, because that numbered book will come in that numbered box, okay? That's the only, there's 2 reasons we decided to number them. One was so that we could kind of say, okay, let's keep up with them so we can have people bidding on them, right? And the other was so we could kind of do this and keep up with that. But these are pretty cool. I can't. I don't think we've showed you. I'm gonna flip through it a little bit. I've tried to keep my hands off of these because there's only 20 of them. I don't have an extra one just to show you. I told Tommy, I said I really should have put in an extra one. But these are the books, right? So they're autographed books. You take them. Let's see if we can find. Where's Pete in here?
Hello.
Oh, look, Pete and Roberta right there together. Okay.
Hey.
So there's
Oh
Pete
my
and Roberta. Right? So when you see Pete and Roberta out in the wild, you take this book up to them and you get them to sign it right here. See, there's a little place for it. So you get this book, you're going to go hunt down autographs from the Silverline family of creators, and you're going to collect the autographs, okay? That will be a lot of fun, I hope. And then the other two things, again, are also... Now, this is a first. Silverline's never done anything like this. The other two things are also a first. Well, I'm not going to tell you what those are. So, just because I'm that way, right? So don't forget to get over there. You can find it at, and I'll put the link up here in just a minute when I stop talking so I can click around a little bit. Don't forget to go over to www.silverlinecomics.com/mystery-box, and that will take you right to the page. It'll have all the stuff that I just kind of went over so that you can see. All right, here. Look at this. We're gonna play with the. Tommy says, "Good evening, everyone. Hope all's well." See, now this is one of the things I like about StreamYard because I can actually put up the comments for you guys to see as well, right?
That's cool.
Yeah. Let's see if I can just go. And then Nita Lanning says, "Sup, everybody? What's up, Nita?"
What's up?
And then C. Michael says, "Hey, Silverline Sunday, totally here spying on you for our Wednesday Wham night group." Yeah, I did. I was actually on the Indie Volt stream this morning, and C. Michael left me some messages. He says, "What are you doing up so early?" And of course, I was here this morning going, "It's early. I gotta be up again on tonight, right?" So yeah,
That's funny. I spy on them on Sunday.
On Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Sunday, Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Here we go. Tommy said, "Yep, Mr. C said, just making sure y'all behave." Yeah. I think he said. I think Tommy meant to say what Mr. C said. He says that Mr. C said. But yeah. So tonight our topic is supporting characters. We're going to talk about what makes a good supporting character, what makes a bad supporting character, and we're gonna examples. Who do you think are some of the best supporting characters, and who do you think are some of the worst? Who wants to dive? Roberta, do you want to try to stream art?
I am working on that right now.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
So while y'all are thinking about your answers, we haven't really figured out how to do streaming on this really well yet. We know that you can do it, and we know that it's available, and we know that it can happen. But we haven't figured out all the kinks to get it to. Pete can't get his to connect. Roberta's working on that right now. So,
Come on.
so if we can figure it out, we will put some art up, and we'll go there. But yeah,
You see me? See, I gotta start wearing the glasses and mustache when I watch them on Wednesday. That way they'll never know.
Yeah. All right. So who wants to dive in first and talk about supporting characters?
Well, I mean, I think probably if we're going best, the very first best one, especially nowadays, is Alfred in Batman. I think is like perfect supporting character where it has stuff to do, is important to the story structure. There's a lot of embellishments, and it's likable. I think there's a lot of supporting characters that aren't likable, to be honest. Just move along. Let's get to the
So that's actually an interesting. I got to take my hat off. It also covers my ears, so I can't hear very well. So I'm taking my Santa Claus hat off, running my hand through my hair, so y'all can't see how nasty the hat made it.
I think you got it.
All right. Let's see. Let's see. Roberta, add to stream.
That's Roberta doing.
Whoa! Look at that. Excellent.
Nice.
Pendulum. All right. So that was you beat me to it. I was about to ask you what your color you're on, but you're going on Pendulum. All right. So Kurtis. So here's a question for you then. So you said he's not likable. Does that make him or supporting characters aren't likable? Does an unlikable character mean it's a bad supporting character, or does that just mean it's an unlikable character?
I mean, Alfred's likable,
Yeah.
but and that's why I think he's one of the better supporting characters. I think bad supporting characters are characters that sometimes are just kind of the connective tissue for the comic book. Like whenever there's usually a reporter in a comic book, that character is usually there if they're not the main character to incite something to happen later. And if it's not written well, they're just there to kind of help the plot move along. There's nothing about their character that's likable, I think that's kind of my thought on it.
All right. So would you agree then that a characteristic of a good supporting character is being likable?
They have to be likable, or you have to like to hate them, But if like it could be a villainous, supporting character or something like that. But yeah, I think being likable is important. You have to have some quality that you enjoy reading. That's my thought.
All right. Other people, listen to me. I sound like
I know whether he's not a good. I did, like I mentioned this on Wednesday. I always like Hudson in the original Aliens, but Bill Paxton makes everything great. I'm trying to think of comic book supporting characters.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Well, all right. So how about let's toss out a title, some popular titles, and see if we can come up with supporting characters from there. So I'm just going to go to like one of my all-time favorites. What about Spider-Man? Who would you say are supporting characters of Spider-Man?
Mary Jane.
Okay.
Aunt May.
Aunt May.
J. Jonah Jameson.
He's got a huge supporting cast of characters.
Yeah. Yes, he does.
Actually.
So do you think the size of the cast of supporting characters is what part of what makes him better? Yeah. I mean, when I say Spider-Man better than most comics, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking, like, I used to, I was a big fan of the X-Men, but if there was a team, the team would be not supporting characters. It would be the main character. So I'm even thinking about, because that's what I was thinking, like, supporting characters in comic books. Like, well, the X-Men, like, no, the team members are all primary characters.
So here's a supporting character in that book. So let me make a small time out here, and guys, if you think I'm getting too deep, I need you to stop me, okay?
Oh.
But I actually, so one of the things I talk about in my class is how to handle a team book, how to handle I call it an ensemble cast, because most of my students don't. Why are we talking about team superheroes, right? No, I just call it an ensemble cast. And the reality is that you can't often tell a story about 7 people, right? It's hard because I give the example. There's 5 of us, right? If the 5 of us were going to go to the zoo, right, we would all climb in a bus and we would go to the zoo. We would all be doing the same thing, right? That would be our story. Our goal would be to go to the zoo. Only one of us would drive the bus. That would be me, just in case you didn't know. But only one of us would drive the bus, right? So somebody has to drive the story, right? Some character has to drive the story. Now, are you guys familiar? You guys know who Paul Levitz is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's this. Now I didn't call it I didn't call it this when I was doing it because I didn't know that it had a name, right? But it's just this thing that I was doing when I thought Cat and Mouse was going to be ongoing. This was one of the things that I was doing. But there's this thing called the Levitz paradigm, okay, in which and if you're unfamiliar with that, I highly recommend this book. Which is called the DC Comics Guide to Writing Comics. It's written by Denny O'Neil, who is Mr. Batman, right? Denny's associated with Batman for over a span of several decades, right? And Denny's the one who talks about the Levitz paradigm in here, and it's actually also used in episodic television. Now, I know you're not going to be able to read it, but that's okay. But you're going to be able to see this, how the stories progress, right, and the plots. Is what he's saying, that one plot will take precedence, and then the next issue, the next plot will take precedence, the next issue, the next plot will take precedence as well. Well, that's kind of how I think when you got an ensemble cast, you're going to have one of the characters, or maybe 2, who is the chief, the protagonist, and then the rest of the team is supporting cast. So if you're reading the Avengers and you're reading a story about Scarlet Witch and Vision, then Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, those become supporting characters, right? Would you agree?
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
based
interrupted.
on the specific plot that's going on in the book. If the
Yes.
plot for that storyline is focusing on Wanda and the Vision, then the other ones become. And then I would assume you would.
Yes,
mean
the
it
other
would
one.
switch. So like there'd be another story like focusing on Captain America, and the Wanda and Vision become supporting members.
Yes.
Of that.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's how I would argue that a team book does have supporting characters of the team members themselves. So I know that I kind of chased rabbits a little bit, but hopefully that all made sense.
So in that sense, it's like a sports team, right? Everybody has their goal, and there's a time where they get highlighted.
Yes.
Right.
It was kind of, I was thinking about Oracle from Batman today when we were talking, in preparation for this, and that's an interesting character because she started out as really supportive as Barbara Gordon, then she became Batgirl, then she got into, she became Oracle, and she went back on the bench to some degree.
Yeah.
And so that's one character with multiple kind of roles depending on the story, right?
You could say she became a primary character when she was Batgirl, right? Yeah, not Batwoman. A Batgirl, and then kind of became more of like a supporting character. And I mean, you could almost say she's the actual technicality of like the perfect example of supporting character, and the fact that she plays a supporting role for Batman as far as information as Oracle. Like there's even more to that just support. It's like no, it's actually supporting the group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think some characters can't break out of that role. Like I remember, like Jimmy Olsen, right? Then Jimmy Olsen had his own comic book, and I had no desire to read Jimmy Olsen's solo comic book.
No.
It's not necessary.
Yeah, well, and I think we could probably spend hours arguing about this, and please don't let Wednesday Whammers hear us talking about this. But I think part of what drives comics a lot is that we don't want to just see the average Joe and Jane, right? That's us. Yeah. We want to see something extraordinary, and it doesn't have to be superpowers, right? I mean, James Bond is not superpowered, but he's extraordinary. Mm-hmm. He's not just normal us, and so I think that was kind of the problem with Jimmy Olsen is that he was just. If I recall, I didn't read it beyond maybe an issue or two, Kurtis. So correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't the title actually? Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. Yeah. So it's kind of like, oh, why are you special? I'm Superman's pal. Well, who cares, right?
It was such a weird. It was. I've seen them try to do books on supporting characters. I guess you could. Well, they did the Robin book. Did they even do Robin anymore? Did he go back to being the primary sidekick for Batman? But I remember they did Robin in that work, so they kind of made him a primary character. But I don't remember them ever doing a Lois Lane comic. Or maybe they did. I don't know. Maybe they did do a Lois Lane.
I'm pretty sure there was a Lois Lane.
We need to do an Aunt May comic. That's the one that's gonna sell off the shelves.
Yeah.
It'll just be like 24 pages, every panel of her watching TV and flipping channels. Maybe taking something, sitting in a rocker.
Staring out the window looking for Peter, right?
Yeah.
Where's Peter?
Halfway through the issue, the oatmeal raisin cookies get burnt, and
See, Michael says yes. More comics need to be written with that method nowadays, and I would kind of agree with him. And then he also said, "Too late, we heard you." Sincerely, the Whammers. All right, so what else? Kind of go back to Spider-Man here. What would you? So we mentioned Aunt May, we mentioned Mary Jane. Who else?
Wow.
Foggy Nelson.
Okay.
Daredevil.
Daredevil, yeah.
Spider-Man.
Man, I'm trying to think. What about why isn't she? Is she still dead? The girl that died. What was her name?
Gwen Stacy.
Gwen Stacy. Or I guess I just
the
assume
girl
it was Marvel.
that died.
Well, she died. Marvel brings everyone back to life, so I just assume she came back to life in some capacity.
Well, I think she probably has because that's who Gwenpool is, isn't it?
It's okay. Well,
Gwen Stacy
and Spider-Gwen or
Spider-Gwen.
Well, yeah, alternate universe, though, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Robbie Robertson. Robbie Robertson's another supporting one.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, he's going back now. Yeah. Harry Osborn, Norman Osborn.
Harry. Yeah, I think Harry was a good one. Because Harry was Pete's friend.
Yeah.
Flash Thompson.
Thompson.
Big one.
Yeah, he became more of a friend. He was kind of an antagonist, but then he became more of a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you guys consider sidekicks supporting characters?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Don't you think?
I would think so. I mean, it's kind of like, like Sherlock Holmes and Watson. Watson would be a supporting character, but it's almost like, can you imagine? Yeah. I mean, they'd be primary supporting. I think that would be based on what the folks can be. I can see. Yeah.
Yeah. C. Michael says, Aaron, Spider-Gwen? Come on, man.
I haven't read Marvel Comics in a long, long time. Sorry, dude.
Flash Thompson actually became Venom for a bit. I didn't know that.
Did he?
Agent Venom.
I did not
It was
know
quite
that.
cool, actually.
Huh.
I thought so, anyway.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, I think. All right, so Curtis mentioned Foggy, so let's move over to Daredevil then, because I think Spider-Man has I think Spider-Man is kind of to the Marvel universe like Batman is to the DC universe. Spider-Man has a really strong ensemble cast, right? He's got an ensemble group of villains. When you think of superheroes, you tend to think of the villain that goes with them. Well, we could probably, there's 5 of us, if we said who's Spider-Man's biggest villain, we might get 5 different answers here.
Yeah.
Who do you say, Curtis?
Oh, Green Goblin.
Oh, yeah, Green Goblin.
Who do you say, Roberta?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. So.
See, I see Doc Ock.
Oh, yeah,
Really?
And I'd say I would also say there's probably an argument for the Vulture, because he was one of the earliest Spider-Man villains to be around for a long time, But and Batman, I think, is kind of the same way, because he's got this big ensemble cast as well as an ensemble group. Yeah, CC Michael says he would say Doc Ock too. So yeah.
I think Batman's easy. I think Batman pretty much everyone say Joker.
Yeah.
And I think that's even been pushed by DC as the main villain.
Because he's the only one anybody cares about, it seems like.
Yeah.
I think somewhere along the line, everyone decided that some of the villains like Penguin and Riddler and were too goofy.
Yeah. Even though some people have done some cool stuff with them. With people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, it's it's funny. Some of my favorite. I was a big fan of Alien Legion. I was always a fan of Jugger Grimrod. I don't know if you guys know that character.
Mm-mm.
He was in the. If you ever read Alien Legion, it's basically like the French Foreign Legion in space. So it was basically like G.I. Joe in space. I think it was written by one of the guys who wrote G.I. Joe for a while.
Carl Potts is, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Didn't Carl Potts do Alien Legion?
Yeah, he did that for a good while. And Jugger Grimrod was just this character who was like, since it's the French Foreign Legion, the Legion, the Nomad Legion that the story is about, were basically comprised of thieves and fugitives and everyone. If you join the Legion, all your past crimes are erased. Well, Jugger was your actually like classic pirate. Like he would go on the battlefield and as they're fighting, he would steal all the stuff, always looking for an end. And he was just such a funny character because he was just completely the self-serving guy who actually ended up being like a very deadly combat. But he was probably one of the most classic ones in the story. And I'm trying to think of even myself like classic, but I'm trying to think of the stories I've read, the supporting characters. That was one. So would you guys consider villains, even though they're villains, would you consider them supporting characters in a way?
Yeah, it's a certain villain, certainly like Joker, because he crops up so often. The Green Goblin is how Norman Osborn's a big supporting character in Spider-Man, regardless of whether he's
a villain or not. Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking too. Yeah.
Even think of the X-Men. I know it's all changed recently, but Magneto's, you would say, is a villain, but he's now.
He's a supporting character. Yeah,
he's a good guy, sort of.
Aaron, you beat C. Michael to it because that's what he said. He said, "Do villains fit the classification of supporting character?"
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, I think technically in the story they're the antagonist.
Yes, I think on the whole, we probably you can almost always come up with exceptions, but I think on the whole the answer is no.
Yeah, I would say they're I would say Yeah, I would say no, but like Peter, there's exceptions where Magneto was, then
Yes,
supporting
yes.
characters. So there's certain characters that defy that. Yeah.
Well, and like the Goblin was Harry Osborn, so he was part of that story, but villains, the antagonists, tend to wander in and then wander
Yeah.
out of the story. Harry was the Green Goblin would wander in and out, but Harry was part of the story, right?
Part of the story then. Okay.
Yeah. And that might be a little kind of wonky to think of it that way. I don't know, but all right. So let's go ahead and go to Daredevil then. Who were some of his supporting cast? Foggy.
Foggy, isn't it?
I think of Elektra. Now, would Elektra count? Even though she was a villain, she seems much more of a love interest. I would say Elektra would be a supporting
But
character.
she's not supportive.
No. Yeah. Well, it depends on the story they're writing. Sometimes she is, sometimes she's not.
Yeah.
Karen Page, of course.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
Karen Page.
For sure.
Stick. I would say Stick definitely is one of the.
Yeah, I
yeah.
would say Stick. Yep.
Who else? Oh, Turk. No, Turk's a villain. Is Turk a villain or is Turk a supporting character? That's the big question. Is Turk was in almost every issue?
Did Daredevil ever have a sidekick at one time?
Technically, yeah. What was the name? Is Echo a sidekick of his?
So yeah, I guess that would be a supporting character. I was thinking like, did he have a sidekick? Because I was like,
Everyone in Daredevil's life seems to die at some point. So
the curse.
yeah, I don't know how long they hang around for.
So I'll have to. I'll admit I don't remember a sidekick for Daredevil.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That maybe that was one.
Yeah, I thought Echo was almost like another version of Elektra to some degree. Like she was kind of a rival, a little or protege. I couldn't tell.
Protege.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a cool character. I really liked her. Yeah.
Yeah. See, Michael said Elektra supports the plot, which I would kind of argue that any character in there ought to kind of support the plot.
Yeah.
And it says Elektra's actually Daredevil right now while he's in jail. That's interesting.
I wonder if that, strange enough, I saw an illustration of a female Daredevil today. I thought it was like just like a fan thing, but
Yeah.
maybe that was an actual image of her as Daredevil. I don't read Daredevil, so maybe that's weird that should come up, and I saw that image today.
Well, I was gonna say that the Frank Miller run on Daredevil is a must read.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty much most of the Daredevil I've read.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite story wasn't. It was that, and I think I still have the book somewhere. Elektra Strikes Again or Lives Again. It was a big white book. It was a hardback book by Frank Miller. Yeah, that was awesome. I love that book.
I would
I
say
have that somewhere.
I would say second to that would be Ann Nescentis. She followed. I don't know if she was the writer who followed him immediately, but she followed Frank Miller on Daredevil, and she wrote some really good stories. I think Typhoid Mary might have been her creation.
Oh, really?
Okay, yeah.
I don't quote me on that, but I know that she wrote a lot of Typhoid Mary stories, so I'm thinking that might have been her creation.
Huh.
But,
Interesting.
Yeah, really good stuff. So,
Yeah, so I'm thinking of like even my favorite superhero, Wonder Woman, like her supporting character.
Okay, so who would that be?
I'm gonna say Hippolyta. I'm gonna screw up her mother's name. Hippolyta. Thank you. I always screw up trying to pronounce that. Hippolyta. Her mother would be a supporting character. The Catapolis, the last name, the mother and the daughter. I can never remember that. Like Vanessa and then the mother. Then they met them. It was like she was an archaeologist that she met, and she's been in some of the stories. She was more in George Perez's run. He really introduced those two in that run.
That was a good run, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, who's the pilot dude?
Steve Trevor.
Steve,
Yeah.
thank you.
And he kind of
I was
comes
trying
in
to
and
say
out of the
Trent.
story.
I'm like Trent.
Yeah.
Who's Trent? Yeah, Steve Trevor.
And it's funny because when I watched the movie, they made Steve Trevor a love interest, but in a lot of the comics I've been reading, he never was. He was a friend of her, but he ended up marrying this other lady called Etta Candy. And so he never was a love interest of Wonder Woman. So I thought that was interesting. I thought, that's certain. It's like, no. That was for the movie, I guess, more. For the Chris Pine character, Steve Trevor. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris Prime said, probably said, I want to kiss Gal.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't? Okay, yeah, I can win that.
Yeah. I'm her love interest, of course. All right, so what about a team like the Avengers? Okay, so we've already talked a little bit about ensemble cast, but outside of the characters, who would you say some of their supporting characters are?
I would say
Jarvis.
Jarvis, yeah.
But he would also work as Iron Man because wasn't he Iron Man's butler?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and then became the butler for them. That's right. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's hard because you consider all the superheroes actually part of the team. So who actually?
Right. Which I think kind of goes back to what I was talking about a little bit earlier, that you kind of have one or two of them that kind of drive the story. I guess you might call it like a viewpoint character, and then the others are kind of the supporting cast. So,
I mean, you would, I keep thinking of like if they were going to Batman, you have Commissioner Gordon, who's a police. I was kind of wondering if the Avengers worked with any police department or had any sort of law enforcement people. Because I know in the Wonder Woman they introduced this, and I can't remember his name, this police officer that was John Byrne, and now he's become a supporting character in the comic. And so I've noticed running that there's like law enforcement people that become friends with the superheroes that become supporting characters. I don't know if the Avengers had anything like that.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Would you say Nick Fury?
Well,
I mean, maybe in the movies. I'm not sure. A lot of the comics I've read, he was kind of there, but not super really. He's more of the movie version.
Yeah, Nick Fury. I don't think Nick Fury was really that involved in the Avengers.
Okay,
I don't remember him in the Avengers that frequently. I think he probably showed up more in Captain America's comic than
I can see that,
the Avengers. Yeah. I think that part of the problem with the supporting cast for the Avengers is that a lot of times the supporting cast was their secret identities.
Yeah.
So you had Tony Stark, you had Donald Blake, was a supporting cast member because he was a doctor, right?
Yeah.
Several of them had secret identities, and those were supporting cast members for the Avengers.
They never did introduce Donald Blake into the Thor movies, did they?
No, they gave it a wink.
They gave it a wink.
The first one, wasn't it?
There was
direct.
There was a wink in that first the very first movie when when he oh shoot, who was the guy? Who was the supporting scientist dude?
Selvig or something.
Selvig, yeah. So he broke in to get Thor, and he pulled off a name badge, and the name badge he pulled off or something like that was Donald Blake.
Okay, so they
Or maybe they pulled off the name tag, and that's who they said Thor was. This is Dr. Donald Blake. I got to get him out of here or something like that. Yeah. So there was a little wink, nudge, nudge kind of thing, Michael said Nick Fury had his own thing, so he's more of a guest star.
Guest star. Okay, that makes more sense. One of my big Avenger story I like was the Ultimates. That's the one I remember. Think the Ultimates, the 90s when they did the. And I think Nick Fury is more of a supporting character, but that was because the Avengers supposed to be like a Shield initiative, kind of like the movie. Yeah. So that's why I was thinking that. But in the actual Marvel Avengers comic, they're more separate. Yeah, I remember that.
They were definitely separate, and they really were more kind of funded by Tony Stark.
Yeah, it was a private thing.
Yep, it was a private thing, and he was the millionaire that had let them. He bought their headquarters and all that kind. Actually, they had a house, Avengers Mansion.
Right.
They didn't even have a headquarters like that, and the mansion was in the middle of New York City.
Everybody knew where it was and stuff. I remember that. Yeah. So strangely enough, what about the Fantastic Four?
Yeah, I think they got Herbie the robot.
Yeah. Well, Alicia Masters for a long time.
Yeah.
She was a supporting cast member.
Yeah, that's what, I know some about the Fantastic Four. So I was just curious.
Wyatt Wingfoot for a big chunk of Burns' run, anyway. Anybody remember Wyatt Wingfoot?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Dragon Man.
Yeah.
Their kids to a
Yeah, I was thinking of
lesser
Franklin.
extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know that I've ever thought about Fantasy Four supporting cast that much.
Who was Thing's girlfriend? Or Iris or?
No, Alicia.
Alicia Masters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was the blind sculptor.
Yeah. So that was,
Hmm.
forgot about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I always think of like the X-Men, and the X-Men I would
Moira
see. That's even a hard one for me. I mean, all of them are mutants, so I mean,
Moira
would you even
McTaggart, though.
more McTarget? Yeah,
Yeah.
she
She was
was.
like the only one that stayed a supporting character.
Yeah. Well, they actually have read the House of X comic, which I'm
That's changed.
Yeah, I kind of
Awesome.
had mixed feelings about it, and they made.
Oh, I
her-
loved it. I loved
You
it.
liked it? Yeah, they made
Yeah.
her a mutant in that. I wasn't too
Really?
terribly. I wasn't a fan of that concept as much. But
I guess
yeah,
I kind of always assumed she was a mutant.
I always liked that she was
Oh,
just.
you
I
had the
always
gang.
thought she was just like a human scientist working with Dr. Xavier to cure, and so yeah, I don't know.
I have a question for you guys. So like that example of Moira McTaggart, but it's like anything. There's so many characters that start out as supporting and then
Yeah.
they get powers or they become something or they don a costume all of a sudden. You know, to me sometimes it's kind of like it's like that one character that's not, that one musician that's the least memorable person of the band as a solo album, and you're kind of like, you know, dude, I kind of liked it when you were playing bass, like just go back,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you folks feel about that? Because rarely have I felt that it's done in a way that I'm excited or it really works for me. It is sometimes, but
It sometimes kind of bothers me. And I don't know. I think the thing with X-Men is I read, and I'm a big fan of Claremont's run. So I mean, like most people, I grew up with Claremont's run, and mutants seem to be a little more scarce. It seemed more in his book. So, and it seems nowadays when everyone you meet, it's like, well, they're secretly a mutant, even though they've been human for years. Like they're secretly a mutant, and I'm like, can we not make, like you said, like everyone in the spotlight? Can we not make everybody a mutant? Can we keep some, you know, like keep her human? Or because to me, she always felt like a tie to the human world. They had the mutant kingdom, but Moira McTaggart felt like the sort of tie to the human science industry, the human world. But it's like, no, everybody they know human eventually ends up being a mutant. Like you, and it's like, well, then is that thrust into the spotlight a little? So I don't know. I'm trying, and that's the only one I can think of. I mean, I would think like, would you consider Cerebro a supporting character in any weird way? That's more of a device, I guess.
Yeah, I just say I don't know that.
Well, it became sentient at some point, didn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It did. So I don't know.
So
Yeah.
So you know the problem with this, with the idea of the supporting cast becoming more important. You know the problem with that, right?
Well, I would assume you'd have to make. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It takes away the importance from the lead character, or
Well, there's there's absolutely that, but when you talk purely storytelling and not necessarily from a fan event, but purely storytelling, when the supporting character becomes something different, what happens? I mean, what does that do to the story? I'm sorry. I'm.
well, you
This is why we shouldn't talk about story things too much. 'Cause I feel like I'm breaking into teacher mode. I'm like,
No,
I talk about this stuff in class.
But I mean, you lose that piece of the puzzle that connected the whole story. That part's gone now.
That's exactly what
Yeah.
happens. You change the status quo, and part of what we're drawn to as fans is that you establish something, right? So there's some
Right.
kind of all the components. It's what draws you as a fan. You're like, this is what I like. This works. And when you take that element and you change the status quo, then suddenly that's not quite the thing that you, as a fan, you like. You're like, well, no, that's not the same anymore. That's you know, I don't, you know, I like I said earlier, you know, one of the biggest problems I have with the modern Spider-Man is that I don't like the idea that everybody knows his secret identity.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
they got rid of that. I thought they made that like. I thought they revealed that and then they got rid of it. Now this everyone know now.
I don't like you. I don't follow enough current Marvels
Yeah, I
to
don't know.
But-
Most of the stuff I've read a news headline.
But,
This happened
but,
to Spider-Man. That's hard.
Okay. But see, what I liked about it, about the initial, was that that Spider-Man, that Peter had this overwhelmingly burden of a secret.
Yeah.
That he was this Spider-Man guy, and he could not tell anybody. And, you know, you think, here's a 17, 18, 19, year old kid. He's got this thing, and he can't tell anybody because they'll be in danger. I mean, what a burden that is. And I think that, for me personally, that's part of what made that character. And then in the movies where, like, his best friend knows, and Stark knows, and I'm like, stop it. I have problems with that.
This fact, I caught. Oh, so I caught the original Spider-Man on television, and the one with Tobey Maguire. And at the end, when Mary Jane announces her love for him, and he's like, "I can only be a friend to you." That is exactly what you're talking about. Like, he couldn't give in to that, and that kind of made that character. Now, when everyone knows, it kind of takes away that sort of burden he has to the shoulder to do.
It does. And the problem is that really dramatically changes the character. You think, well, that's not a big deal if she knows. Well, no, suddenly Pete has this whole different set of circumstances, right?
Yeah. It's almost like in a weird way when they do TV shows where they have like love interests, like X-Files. And when Scully and Mulder get together, then the tension's gone and now it completely changes.
That's exactly like that. It's exactly that. Because you're cheering for them to accomplish something, and once they accomplish it, the status quo is gone, and you're like, okay, well, what's next? C. Michael said about Cerebro, he said, Cerebro became sentient with a sentinel body, which essentially, I think, became a main character in the Extraordinary X-Men.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
So my question then is it's kind of funny. I was, this is film, but I guess it's tangential in terms of entertainment. I've heard him say, like, when you look at like when they made the Godfather sequel or a Rocky sequel, it's literally the same movie, just different characters in the same roles as the previous one. I mean, it hits the same story points. There's a assassination at the end. There's these points. So is the solution to have a new character come in and fill that role that the other character is phased out of, or is it just kind of keep it the same thing and kind of go like straight up Columbo, where it's paint by numbers, the same story?
It's funny you should bring up Rocky, because I have to say that was probably one where when I watched Rocky 3 and Mick died, because I love the Mick's character, his trainer, it did change the status quo, like you said. To me, it did. After Rocky 3, after he died, I considered the series kind of done for me. Even though Apollo Creed came in and trained him, it was one of those things like, no, I really liked the dynamic between Rocky and Mick training. So I kind of agree with you. To me, at least in that example, it did. Yeah. It did change that.
But what would you? I mean, for Roland, from a technical story writing standpoint, I mean, is there a solution to that, or is it just sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't? I mean, do you?
I think that's the answer. Is that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. The thing about it is, and here's the challenge to telling a story, is that we all talk about, all stories talk about growth. Characters need growth. And growth tends to mean change, right? So we want our characters to grow and change. The problem is, in episodic fiction, if your characters grow and change, you've grown and changed them right out of the episodic content, right? So this is why things like ongoing Marvel and DC books struggle eventually, because we're looking at what Spider-Man was 62 when it debuted. You're talking about, I don't know how many years that's going on. How many years is that? Somebody help me with the math. 50. Many, a bunch, right? It's going. That's a bunch of years. So do you really have a 17, 18-year-old character for 70 years? Yeah. That's the question. So what do you do? Well, the problem is, if you do give that character change and growth, it's not the same character anymore. know? And so it's one of those, you're kind of, screwed if you do, screwed if you don't.
Yeah. That's the one thing that's really hard, especially since most stories are like, most of the main characters, a character arc, a growth arc. and that a lot of stories like like Luke Skywalker. Did we lose everyone? I guess it's just me and you.
Oh no! I saw Pete got his camera working again, and I was
it's just me.
Nice
You've zoomed the wrong way.
I was trying to figure out how I could swap Pete and Roberta, and just kind of swap you on screen, see if I can.
Right.
But wait a minute, let's see if this works. No,
You want the other me. I've got that's because of my mics on. Hang on.
Let's see.
Oh, you have the 2 mics going?
Yeah, I forgot to turn it off.
So I didn't mean to just disrupt your thought process there.
Oh no, Peter disrupts everything. So that
Yeah.
See, I can do this, right?
Oh, there you go. But
Well, let's see if I can. If what happens if I do that. Now, see, it goes back to Roberta. I guess it's because Roberta's sharing.
Oh, should I stop sharing?
No. Keep sharing. I'll just try to bounce you back and forth a little bit. You can pop your fingers and stretch your fingers while Pete's up there, right?
Yeah, definitely. That helps.
Yeah, and Kurtis can pick his nose in while we're not on screen. Be warned, I can see you all though. So
stepping away. Hold on.
So yeah. If you start, can the rest of you see at the bottom of your screen? Can you see everybody else?
No, I just.
No.
Okay, so you just see Pete. Yeah, because see, I have the view where I can see all of you at the bottom, just below Pete's screen. I can see all of you at the bottom, which is really weird. So anyway, so yeah, I think that's this is one of the problems of episodic stuff that we're talking about, the characters changing, growth. Pete, what are we looking at here?
Oh, I've covered it up. Sorry, yeah. This is page 1 of issue 2, actually. I thought I'd better draw something for you tonight rather than just do digital roughs. So
nice. Hey, I like that. I like that paper there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
My little Silverline.
Yeah, looks very cool.
Looks very professional.
It does.
It does.
I like all those. What are those things called? Those emergency ladders there? What are the fire escapes? Right?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Looks nice. And of course, that's
dangled
Miss Fury.
Miss Fury.
Yanking on a rope there. So
Awesome.
That's the idea.
very cool.
Yeah. Pete, is the bottom of her shoe say Fury? That's nice.
That's pretty cool.
Oh,
That's
that
branding.
is so cool.
She's always thinking about branding.
You have to ever kick somebody in the face and leave that in.
Leave a foot blueprint.
Yeah.
Well, I
That's
think
pretty
when Silverline brings out their line of boots and shoes, they can put Fury on it.
That's a great touch.
Yeah.
I love it. Great touch.
Well, now seeing this, now we're gonna have to she's gonna have to leave footprints somewhere, isn't she?
Oh, totally. That's sweet. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So, shoot, where were we? I'm sorry. I threw us off track by playing around with the screens.
We were talking about when you change the status quo. I was going to say one series that I thought actually pulled it off was it was an animated series with Batman Beyond. Actually, made me okay with the fact that they had Bruce Wayne in a mentorship role and they had a new Batman. That's one of the few ones that really worked for me.
Yeah.
Hyper Potato says, "I'm late. What did I miss?" He goes, "Ooh, I like Miss Fury." Yes.
Everyone loves Miss Fury.
That's right. Oh, wait, I'm reading it. I'm like, sorry, Hyper. I figured I can toss you up on the screen this time, so I'm gonna do it. Give you some screen time there. And it says, "Ooh, I like Miss Fury." And yeah, I agree with Pete. Everyone loves Miss Fury.
I agree with the Batman Beyond statement. I did that because I watched that, and that Batman became basically like an Oracle character.
Yeah, but he was still really cool. It wasn't like he wasn't like completely decrepit. I mean, he still was a really neat character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Is that because you're used to Batman being a mentor to other Robins and characters in his own universe anyway?
That's a good That's a good point, Pete. I mean, it kind of was put in there already, I guess, to some degree in the DNA.
Yeah, because he was kind of a mentor character.
See, Michael said, "Sign me up for some Silverline sneakers."
See?
And then Hyper Potato says, "I'm famous. Look, Dad, I made it I'm on the big screen." So, all right. So, yeah, we've hit on a whole bunch of different supporting characters here. What is it? What is it? Do you think? What characteristics do these characters have that make them good or that make them bad? What do you think? What personality traits? What characteristics? What makes these supporting cast members good or bad?
It seems like the ones I usually like or I've seen is the ones who call the hero on their like flaws. In other words, the hero struggling with something, and it's a supporting character that will point out this sort of, you should look at it this way, and then aha. Alfred, I think, does that a lot with Batman.
Yeah, as I was going to say, Alfred's always trying to be Bruce Wayne, not Batman.
Right.
Not neglect who he really is, or Bruce Wayne's identity.
I could almost say like maybe the supporting characters some keep the hero grounded a little bit, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the supporting character there to do? It's to remind them who they are, isn't it? And be that grounding. Oh, there's me on the screen.
Apparently
that happened. What happened?
Oof.
All right, let's see.
I think that's probably because my phone got kicked off again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's been doing that. So
We'll see if we can get Roberta back up there then.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you for the break.
Well, appreciate that, but I don't think it's going to leave it back on.
So, hey, look at this. Rob Davis. What up, all? What's up, Rob? Rob is our very own artist on Twilight Graham, everybody.
yeah,
So,
it's really cool. And he's got issue 1. Yeah, I liked issue 1.
yeah.
That was the one that came with Fire Rush, right?
No, that was the one that came with Divinity. Yeah.
Was it with Divinity? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rob
it was
Davis,
the
first time viewer.
First time viewer.
All right. Yeah. Now, but Rob's accustomed to these streams because he streams frequently. Rob, correct me if I don't get it exactly right. Rob streams frequently with his partner Ron Fortier from with Airship 27. So look at that. El Guapo Comics says, "Hey Rob, hello Rob." Look, Rob, you come on and people are saying hello to you.
Yeah. I know.
He said, "Just saw you were on, but I'll be heading out. Just wanted to say hello to Roland, who I met yesterday at Infinity Con."
Oh,
That's right.
Yeah.
Good friends.
What's up, El Guapo? Yeah. Yeah, it was nice to meet you. I know you moved down here recently. I don't know if you want me to say your name, so I'm not going to say your name because it says El Guapo Comics. But I know that you had moved down here a year ago or something like that, and we've been meaning to meet up, and that yesterday was our first opportunity to actually meet. So it was nice to meet you and get to chat with you a little bit, put a face to the name. Let's see here. Yeah, Rob says Airship 21. I don't know what I keep saying. Airship 27. They do monthly. So okay, yeah. So El Guapo, for those who don't know, is Caesar, and I hope I get the last name right, Feliciano. So I was introduced to Caesar via Ron Fortier. So. Yeah, 2 years ago. Wow, you've been here 2 years now? Wow. You mean it took us 2 years? I guess there has been a plague, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then Rob says, hello, hola, El Guapo. So, well, thank you very much for stopping by, El Guapo and Rob. We're talking comics, so, it's the kind of thing you guys know. Chime in. We're talking about supporting cast, supporting characters tonight, and we were just getting into characteristics of what makes them. We went the first hour we spent listing a whole bunch of them, and then now we're going to kind of talk about what makes them good characters. Hyper Potato said Caesar's a great artist. Found him through Comics Tribe Comics. I agree with you, Hyper Potato, quite a bit. Yeah, and El Guapo says, yeah, we hadn't met because of COVID. He's been down here that long, and yeah, COVID has kept us from meeting. So, and I can't keep up with putting the I'm reading more comments than I'm putting on online, aren't I? Yeah, Rob, look at this. Rob's kind of hitting on the highlights here. He says supporting characters are best when they compare and contrast to the hero. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I can see that. So
Pete, I had just added you're back on, and it kicks you back off.
I'll give up.
I could see, like, I guess supporting characters in a way could be kind of a little bit in like antagonists, because they kind of call the hero out, but not in the way a villain would do it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they cover for the hero as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Foggy's always covering for Matt Murdock.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And I think they allow the character to be kind of more fantastical when you have this really grounded supporting cast, of lawyers and police officers. They kind of clean up all the stuff that the hero should have to deal with,
Yes.
Yeah.
Like leaving a crime scene or, whatever,
Right.
It's
Well, I think one important thing to remember is they're called supporting characters, right? And there's lots of ways to do that, but their task is to support the hero. El Guapo says, no worries. Sorry I missed the stream, but good night. Thank you, Caesar. It's good to see you here. Like we stream, of course, we're going into the holidays, so we'll be here again next Sunday. And then we'll take a couple of weeks off. But Sunday nights at 9 p.m. and is when you'll see this group every Sunday at 9 p.m. And then on Wednesday, we've got our Wednesday Whammers that do it at the same time, 9 to 11. So. Yeah, we'll have to get you on and join us sometime. Same, you too, Rob. But yeah, we just we talk comics and all kinds of fun stuff. So, and Caesar, I'm sure I'll see you at another show. Hopefully, early next year. I'll be at DeLand on January 17th. Any chance you'll be there? In DeLand, and that's the only show I've scheduled for 2021. So. But yeah, so I forgot what I was saying now.
It's funny. I was thinking of supporting characters, like team book. For like the team books, out. They kind of go back and forth. But I always thought it was funny when I was, a kid, and I was a big fan of He-Man, Masters of the Universe. Once you say He-Man, he's automatically the prime character, and every other character is a supporting character in that show.
Yeah.
So if it was like Wolverine and the X-Men, which was a cartoon. Then all the other X-Men automatic supporting characters because the main character is in the title.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird, yeah. I guess it depends on marketing, right? They're going to tell you who the main character is.
Spider-Man and his amazing
friends, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I think the key that you have to remember to, supporting cast member is that their job is to support in some kind of way, and I think you guys have hit on a whole bunch of the highlights. Is they've got to point out their flaws, they got to cover up for them.
Do you think getting in trouble is also a support? I'm thinking like Superman and Lois Lane, the classic. Lois Lane get in trouble, and he would support or give Superman somebody to save.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I certainly think there could be some of that. But I think what that does more than anything is it makes the having to save someone more emotional.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If they're emotionally connected to the person, then it makes it that much more. Yeah. So.
Yeah, Rob said he finished up a cover rough for Twilight Grim 3 and was going to send it to Roland when I remembered the live stream. Well, appreciate that. I'm anxious to see the cover rough now. So, hopefully, as an update for Twilight Grim, Mickey has colored, I want to say, I don't have the files in front of me, but I want to say he's done about 18 pages, so 17, something like that. So yeah, it's really close to being finished. So that's good news. We'll be getting Twilight Graham 2 on the slate to be kickstarted soon. So and Rob's jamming on number 3, so we're gonna go boom 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 with it. What about loyalty for a supporting character?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, again, I keep thinking back to Alfred being loyal. And maybe it's just the fact that I got done watching Batman Begins again. You know, I'll never leave you, I'll never give up on you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think with loyalty, I mean, it can come and go too. I mean, like Foggy Nelson is that example where, you know, super loyal to Matt Murdock, and then, you know, then there's that whole thing with him and Karen Page, you know, kind of abandon that, you know, so, you know, it all depends, right?
So this is a good, Rob has a good observation here. Tonto for the Lone Ranger, obviously, and Watson for Sherlock Holmes, to give the hero someone to talk to for radio and television.
Yeah.
You know, this is telling the story is often one of the hardest things to do if you've got a solo character, because they are just talking to themselves a lot, and when you're something. You know, when you're reading something, you need something to read. It's not a picture book, right? You need something to read. If you just got one character walking around, then it's just a bunch of thought balloons. Or you could go the with the captions, right? But this gives somebody something to someone to talk to and bounce ideas off of, and help advance the story. That's a good point.
They're the relatable character, really, aren't they? Because you can't really relate to a superhero because you're not a superhero, but you can relate to the normal person.
Right.
Yeah. They do that a lot, like like you said, superheroes, seeing the superhero through the eyes of supporting characters.
Yeah.
Rick Jones. We were talking about the Avengers supporting characters.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Rick Jones guy.
Rick Jones, yeah.
I always made Rick Jones a Hulk supporting character.
Well, yeah, he was, but I think initially. But now Rick Jones became part of the Avengers, therefore, or the Avengers cast for a long time, because you remember he swapped places with Captain Marvel.
That's right. Yes.
Yep. For was it those bands he had? He had to click the bands, and then he would go into limbo, and Captain Marvel would come out.
Yeah.
Or I can't remember. Was it limbo or the negative zone? Maybe it was,
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember what. But basically they swapped. So whenever, you know, it was a little bit of a Shazam thing, I guess. But whenever he needed Captain Marvel, he hit the bands, and Captain Marvel came and did his superheroics, and then Captain Marvel hit the bands, and Rick Jones came back and continued to live his teen life.
You know what? One thing that, you know, when Rob brought up about Tonto and you're talking about how those characters are relatable, I think it also shows us how the hero would treat us, right? If he's treating this quote unquote peon, you know, like really nicely enough, then we can also not only relate to that character, but we can respect and look up to the hero, because we can see how they would treat us, right? You know? So,
Yeah.
So we're talking about bad supporting characters. Did you guys want to talk about what considered bad supporting characters? Since you've been talking about like more awful ones. Did Roland freeze?
No, I'm here.
You're so still for a minute there. I thought your camera froze.
I can stay this still for a long time.
Yeah. Really freeze the camera.
Yeah, Rob says people to relate to. Robin and Bucky for Batman and Captain America were designed specifically to give kids someone to relate to.
Right.
Hyper Potato says, I like some loyalty, but also a little conflict. Bulldozer loves Sergeant Rock, but wants his stripes.
Yeah.
So
that actually reminds me, one of my favorite supporting characters was Starscream in Transformers, because he was always trying to outdo Megatron and get his title. I remember. Yeah.
Well, you know, you talk about a little bit of conflict as well. We mentioned Flash Thompson when we were talking about Spider-Man. Well, Flash was a fan of Spider-Man, but he picked on Peter Parker because he was a geek, right?
Yeah.
But he was this huge fan of Spider-Man. but Pete was a geek.
Damn geek.
Yeah.
Peter can relate. The nerds run from Peter.
Oven! What's up, Oven? I got to. Oven says hello, Silverline family. I actually got to see Oven yesterday, and for those of you who are on Facebook, and I guess I Hyper Potato reminds me that I need to post to Twitter too, and I don't always remember to do that. But there's we grabbed a bite to eat afterwards, and me and John Crowther and Martin Piero and Heidi. Both of those guys were from, Martin and Heidi from Cosmic Times. John, of course, is doing Teen Beetle for us, and then also he does all those wrestling comics. And I ask his forgiveness because he knows that I say all those wrestling comics because I don't know the first thing about wrestling. But we went out to eat, and Oven joined us, so we had a fun time last night. Part of me thinks sometimes Oven was a little bit bored because we got to talk. You know how it is after a convention. You get there and then you solve all the problems of the comic industry. Yeah. See, Michael says Peter was a nerd. He was smarter than a geek. Oh, we're not going to get into that right now.
I agree.
Wait, you agree with C. Michael?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a difference between a geek and a nerd.
Okay,
I'm a geek because I collect comic books and I read comic books, so I think that makes you a geek. But I'm not a nerd because I'm not super intelligent. All I do is read science and math.
Peter's, you're a geek, Peter. The chickens get nervous around you.
Don't get that.
I missed that reference, I guess.
That's what geeks originally were. They were circus performers. That's where the term comes from.
Oh.
Did not know that.
Yeah, there were people who bit the heads off chickens. And
they sound cool.
Called geeks.
Yeah. Okay, well, there you go. Rob Davis says, "Hey, Owen." Nita says, "See, Michael, so you just trolling tonight?" I just imagine when I see both Nita and C. Michael posting. They did that this morning too, as well. I almost see them back to back saying, "Watch what I'm going to say here," right?
Yeah.
And then C. Michael says, "Thank you, Peter Clinton."
That's okay.
And he says, "No, just being honest. There's an order to these things." Yeah.
There actually is. I watched it. Not to be too off topic, but I watched the documentary on stupidity. It literally was, and they were talking about the terms moron and dork and all these terms that mean there were actually classifications to classify people's mental ability and mental institute, and I was like, really? I'm like, so I didn't know there was a magnitude of order.
Yeah.
What was worse than I did not know that.
Well, it was funny because we were watching the Crown. Have y'all seen the Crown?
I know what it is.
Pete's like, don't watch that. That's anyway, we were watching The Crown. We enjoyed it. It was the episode, not to give too much away, but it was the episode where they discovered that there were cousins to the royals in an asylum, right? And they were.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm asking forgiveness right now because if I use improper terminology, this is what caused a family fight tonight, right? Is in the this would have been 70s, 80s at the time. And they said something about, one of them had idiocy and one of them was imbecile. Yeah. And I said something about, I didn't know that, one of the royals was an idiot. And, we were saying something that said, when they were talking about when they were an idiot. And my daughter got really mad. She says, you can't say that. I'm like, whoa, hold on now. This was a real thing. This was, the psychologist had said, there are levels of mental capacity, and there really was an idiocy, and those people were called idiots. And of course, my son said, I thought that was just an insult. I said, well, it's become an insult, because, but I said, no. And initially, that this were, you could have someone who was kind of labeled an imbecile, And he said, well, that's an insult too. I said, yeah, it's an insult. I said, we've taken these terms and we made them all into, insulting kind of terms. But
there were like 5 or 6.
But at one point,
yeah.
But at one point in time, these were sort of medically applied terms to people who, had were mentally challenged.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting little conversation there for a few minutes because I said the wrong thing and set my kids off at me. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute,
We were trying to put in historical context of where these terms come from.
Right? Yeah. And so anyway, but it was pretty interesting. Ovid says yesterday was so much fun. Martin was so funny and Heidi was sweetheart. I'm glad I got to come along. Martin's a funny guy. Martin in Cosmic Times is definitely a friend of Silverline. And we talked about all kinds of things and plans. And Martin's got big plans for Cosmic Times. I had banner envy from Martin. He had this huge banner hung up behind his. We were side by side in the convention, and he had this huge Cosmic Times banner that literally was. I want to say it was like 10 feet across, or maybe 10 feet across, but all the way from the top of the back, probably like at least 8 feet tall or something like that. So it was sweet looking. I think he's got a picture of it. But here Rob Davis says, dork, a silly, out of touch person who tends to look odd or behave ridiculously around others. He's given us some definitions here, right? Nerd, socially awkward, and an intelligent but single-minded person obsessed with non-social hobby or pursuit. Geek, a digital technology expert or enthusiast, and a person who has excessive enthusiasm for and some expertise about a specialized subject or activity.
Yeah.
Rob, did you not hear me? I said we're not going there tonight.
See, Rob's a geek because he's gone and got you all this.
Yeah,
He's just staying with he is. He's proud and he's out there. And he's
yeah. Ovid says, it's not the size of your banner, it's how you use it. Anyway. So how did we get off there?
I don't know. I can't remember how we were.
We were talking about supporting characters, and Rob says, I went there. Yeah. So what we're talking about bad. We never got around to bad supporting characters.
Yeah.
Can we think of any bad supporting characters?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of his name. It's Superman.
Oh, Jimmy Olsen?
No. I like Jimmy Olsen.
That's the first one.
I like Jimmy Olsen. No, I can't remember his name. I have to Google it.
You know, about Perry Mason, huh?
Irritating, like I know.
No, Perry Mason. Perry White.
Perry White.
I said Perry Mason.
I mean, Snarf and Thundercats was irritating and bad.
Terrible.
Yeah. So,
Snarf.
Not as a kid, but for a kid, I thought he was cool. He was fun.
Peter. No, I was kidding.
I hated what was that green character that was with the Fantastic Four for a while? Impossible Man.
Yeah.
I could not stand that character.
Yeah, it seems like I've noticed like the bad supporting characters are people who do bad comedy relief. I mean, of course, the most obvious one in the last few years, I guess, would be Jar Jar Binks, right? Everyone.
Yeah.
But it seems like the ones that we're saying are bad are the ones who try to do humor and they miss the humor, and that's why they're bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a fair point.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause I'm trying to think of any. I mean, I never minded the Ewoks, but nobody liked them. I guess would you consider the Ewoks supporting characters?
I didn't mind the Ewoks. I
Sometimes, I mean, probably get in trouble for this, but it's like when they have the little kid character, sometimes kid character. I was talking to this animation director that did this series called Seis Manos on Netflix. It's like martial arts and zombies in Mexico in the 1980s.
That sounds cool.
It's really cool. You should check it out. Danny Trejo's in it and everything. But the first episode, because it's within the first couple minutes, I don't think it's a spoiler, but it starts out like what you would expect, where this little kid discovers all of these martial artists doing martial arts, and so immediately you're like, okay, this kid's going to join them and become one of them. And like 15 minutes in, the kid gets killed, and you never hear about him again. And it's, but when you first start watching, you're like, oh my gosh, here we go, an annoying kid that's going to drag everybody down, kind of thing happens sometimes in stories, and they just completely took the other direction with it. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So sometimes I think kid characters aren't always done earnestly, and that's why they don't always work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think kid characters can work, but if they're not, I think, well, like any character, I think if they're not treated honestly, then the audience will see through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, another Aliens reference. Newt, I thought, was a good child character who supported the film. She wasn't overly annoying.
I'm astounded that we're having problems coming up with bad supporting characters in comics.
You've seen the reference in movies.
They tend to get ditched quite quickly.
Yeah.
Which is just bad characters in general.
I think maybe when we talk about books, we talk about books that we like, and there's no books that we don't like that have bad supporting characters.
Well, yeah,
it's hard to
So is Ben Reilly a supporting character in Spider-Man?
Ooh.
Yeah, isn't he? I would think so.
I would say
he
so.
Was Spider-Man for a while, right?
Yeah, that's when the Scarlet Spider was around, right? Yeah.
At the time, he was really confusing, and probably people really hated him. But actually, they've done some cool stuff with him since, so maybe they've redeemed him.
Maybe it's one of those things like there were supporting characters that were bad, and now they are good because they've made them better, and that's why we're not thinking of them. I mean, I never used to like Robin until they changed his costume and made him more of his own character. Then he became cool.
You mean when he became Nightwing?
Nightwing, yeah. And then I'm thinking of the second Robin too.
Okay,
became more. But yeah, they kind of took him a little more seriously instead of like, like the TV version. Where they kind of changed it. So yeah, I guess there's supporting characters that have changed over time to more reflect, I guess, modern tastes. So now they were bad, but now they're not so bad.
Yeah.
I liked when he was Azrael, like Jean-Paul Gaultier, and when he became the new Batman, and it was like kind of crazy. Then he became a really annoying character, and so that was I guess a supporting character that became the main character. But I really didn't like when they changed him into Batman. That wasn't that cool.
Yeah. Interesting. Rob Davis says, "Yep, actually, I'm a freak, a survivor of the counterculture." C. Michael then says, "Geek's favorite phrase." Well, actually, which is so true, right? And then he said, "Ewoks supported the death of the Empire, so sure." Then they became main characters in their own cartoon.
Yeah.
So, but that's that's an interesting. I mean, that is an example of supporting character becoming a primary character. Right. Oh, here's a good one. Oven says, "I don't really care for superhero pets."
I was actually starting to think. I was a few minutes ago. Starting to think of actually like pets, like pet supporting character. I mean,
don't knock Crypto. Don't go knocking Crypto.
Oh shoot! Where is the cartoon where Crypto turns into a giant dog? Don't remember that one?
Yeah.
Oh, this
don't. But that sounds awesome.
No, it wasn't. No, I used to actually show that in my class when animation was a part of it. But I was showing them what had happened to animation because I would show the 1940s Fleischer stuff, and then I would show the stuff from the 60s, and how you would think 20 years later animation should be so much better, right? But it's not.
Yeah.
A lot of people blame in the world of animation. I mean, when I was in college taking animation, a lot of people hated Hanna-Barbera because because Hanna-Barbera was the first ones that figured out how to cut corners.
Yeah.
Do things cheaply so that they could produce it. The art direction is really great, but when you look at it as animation, it's
Right.
not the best. And then they really lost it when they saw South Park. I mean, these guys were just losing it when they probably saw
When they saw what?
South Park.
Oh.
For
Yeah.
animation, it was like, for them it was a travesty.
Yeah.
They do it so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's old time, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it is weird because I mean, like, I think Funimation did that. I watched a documentary on He-Man again. G comes up again, but they were talking like they wanted to serialize that, not serialize it. Made it for like they wanted to have it be on reruns, right? And I can't remember the names of what that term for the show. And so they were doing the same thing. They were cutting corners and animating certain scenes. So you see every cartoon He-Man, like him running to the side, like the same frame. And so they would reuse these so they can make more of them so they can put them on reruns and get more money. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And Hanna-Barbera was like the classic of doing that. I mean, I always wondered if it was like later in the animation, would they actually animate new episodes, just taking other existing clips and just putting the clips all together?
Well,
all about money.
That's like that the clip show where in the clip show they would say, "Hey, remember when?" and then they show 15 minutes from a previous episode.
Yeah. I
heard. I mean, and I'm not going to name names, but I heard some comics are starting to do that now, just to kind of make deadlines. And
are they really?
Yeah, some of the big guys are doing that.
Marvel and DC, we're okay casting stones their way.
Yeah. I'm in this glass house, so I might as well, right? So.
Yeah, right. Bob Davis says syndication. Yeah.
Syndication. Yes, thank you. That's what. Yeah, they want to syndicate it. But yeah, it's funny. I remember looking at some of the Star Wars newer ones, and then I heard rumors that now when they draw some of the Star Wars vehicles in the comics, I was like, that's a pretty detailed. And then I figured out they use 3D models and draw over the 3D models. And I always wondered, after hearing that, in some comics, they'll do 3D models to position and they could draw over it. Like, how many artists from the old, like, 70s, early 80s Star Wars comics were like, really, dude? You didn't have to draw the Millennium Falcon from a different angle every scene? Because they had to do that.
Yeah.
Although I will say, I spoke to a friend about something like that once. And I was like, well, it's easy. You just make a 3D model. He goes, yeah, it's easy to make a 3D model.
That's the downside.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but it's funny because I kind of noticed when it comes to certain vehicles and comics, like, oh, these look really, really good. And then somebody's like, yeah, they go drawing over 3D models. Like, that makes more sense. Got it. So I guess would you consider that the rotoscoping of comics?
Well, that sounds like a really long conversation too, because one of the things that in our AfterCon conversations, no, it was this morning we were talking about it. Sorry, I'm operating on not enough sleep today. One of the things we talked about this morning was this very thing, and they were talking about, well, is that cheating? If you're the artist and you draw something on the page, and then you print it out, right? And then you take it to a convention, and then or if you do like sketches, gestures, right? And then you print it out, and you take it to a convention, and then you draw over it, and you with a pencil, and then you ink over it. Are you cheating? Is that not really original art?
I'll do that.
Well, yeah.
Well, I take a page of little gestures on an A4 page, so it just gives me a head start. If someone comes along and says, I need this, I said, right, well, I've done the hard bit. I just now have to draw that out large.
Yeah. Not having to think of something out of the blue. Yeah.
Well, and that was one of the questions, or one of the discussions this morning was that there are some people who don't consider that original art, and I'm like, how can you not consider that original art? That's what you would do anyway. You anticipated me asking for this character in a flying pose, and you're like, oh, I got that right here, right? And but it was you. You did it, right? And you're just gonna finish it.
Yeah.
Who was the name of the artist that got caught doing that? He was drawing over like Sports Illustrated models and stuff. Does this ring a bell? Like he was like super realistic.
You're not talking about Rob Granito, are you?
No, I don't think so. Because he would be like these super realistic ladies, and people thought it was amazing, and they found that he was literally just tracing over photographs, and people were upset. And again, I was like, I guess you could be upset, but if you like the finished product, then people get really upset about process. If you're not doing it originally in process,
Yeah.
Well,
we're
and
like,
the people that get upset are the ones that don't do the process, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of like, I say it's like prep work, right? It's like, let's say you had a food truck. You're going to prep all the sauces and grill all the things and get it ready so you can compile it together and make something then.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Slaughter the cow and, you know, milk the cow beforehand and make it.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the meal on time. I'm sorry.
Rob says, I built models for of the Star Trek ships and posed them for drawing or took photos and projected them onto the page when I did the Trek books.
yeah, I can see that. And it's just
Anything
keep them
that
consistent.
speeds it up, because comics takes a long time. So if you've got
Yes.
to draw the same thing 100 times, look,
Oh, I
I
didn't
would
think about
consider
this,
that
Pete.
out of
cheating.
it.
Do you have
Big-
fire engine models?
I don't have fire engine models. I once did when I was in the shops. I saw a model of a sports car, and I thought, "Hey, I want to draw a sports car in the next thing I'm doing. This is a school assignment. I'll buy the mod. I'm going to buy the model, and then I'll just take photos of it as because I'm going to draw 4 or 5 pages of it. I've got no problem with doing that.
Yeah, I don't you know, I don't have a problem with somebody doing that either. Tommy says you drew it, so how is it cheating? Not original art.
People
He
are
didn't
fun.
say it. He didn't say it, but I can hear him. His next line would be, "That's crazy."
But strangely enough, once people have a perception that you're cheating in some way, it's so hard to break that perception.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of cheating, I knew some guys that were back in video games. This one person submitted their portfolio, and it was this obscure Eastern European artist artwork that they just copied, like literally photocopied and put as their portfolio.
Oh,
So they talked to their boss, and they actually scheduled interview time, and they brought the person in for an interview. And during the interview, they let them talk about it. Well, what do you think about this piece? What do you think about this piece? And then one of the guys pulled out this limited edition Eastern European book of the artwork, and they go, "What about this?" And the person goes, "I should be going now, right?" And they're like, "Yeah."
yeah.
Oh man.
Well, the biggest problem that if the guy is not talented enough to reproduce the work. I mean, just imagine if, say, he got the job, I didn't figure it out. He's got to reproduce that. If he's not able to, they're going to see through it real fast.
Yeah.
Good grief.
Yeah.
So he kind of set himself up for failure even to begin with.
Oh yeah, totally. Totally. Awesome.
Rob says Google. Where was it at here? Google has pretty much made what I did obsolete.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He goes, I use photos on the light table after compositing them in Photoshop all the time. So, I mean, you know, I mean, that's just like you see more serious art. They use models, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they get a model, come in, they stare at them, they you know, do chipping away at stone or modeling clay or using a brush or whatever. It's no different, I don't think.
Oh, writer uses a dictionary, right? And you know, and like Peter just posted something today from the Joe Kubert, like a great video of him kind of explaining the process, and he's showing all the tools that he used at that time. He's like, make sure you have your VCR next to you with your tape pause, and here's my folders, my manila folders with all my reference catalog here. You know,
Stephen Butler was my roommate when we first got, when we were first getting into comics, and it surprised me the kinds of the magazines he had, because he had stacks and stacks of bodybuilding magazines, right? All these big muscular guys, and of course the first time I saw it, I laughed. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Because Steve is not a super muscular guy. He goes, hey man, he goes, look at that guy, that's the Hulk right there. And he goes, he flipped the page open and goes, see this is Spider-Man. I'm like, but he also had, all these swimsuit edition, these supermodel, and you think about it, that's what comics are, right? They're just all these super hyper beautiful people, men and women, and he just had magazines to use them as models,
Yeah, when I went to the Cubit, I remember everyone in there was buying muscle, and then we would also buy for, like, to get figure drawing, because figure drawing books are super expensive. So we would go buy, like, Playboys, because they're like $5, and you would get all these reference photos. I was like, okay, you just do that. 'Cause, man, you go to some of those books, and it's like
that explains
$40.
some of the poses in comic books.
That's why my books sell like hotcakes.
That's right. Rob Davis says, why reinvent the wheel? Yeah.
I think technology has made it easier.
Yeah.
Stuff. But it seems to be, and I see this attitude I don't know if it's an attitude or perception more of younger artists starting out, that the idea that you could draw something straight from memory is like this assessment of your talent. When most artists later on would be like, no, that's just more work.
Yeah.
You know, well, and we talk about tools, right? So one of I will tell you this, when I look at samples, one of the first giveaways to me of an artist who is not quite ready for prime time yet is that they refuse to use the tools, right? And when I say tool, I mean the simple tools. You'll see a guy, he's got a room and he freehanded the line for the wall. I'm like, dude, you can't do that until you've been drawing walls for 20 years. You know, there's this thing called a ruler. Get it, use it, right? Yeah. You know, I've even got one right here in my desk. Right here's a ruler. They're pretty cheap. But I see that so much, and artists are like, yeah, well, it's just a straight line. I can just eyeball that. I'm like, well, you know what? No, you can't. Not yet. Use a French curve.
Yeah.
What's that?
I told you about my teacher, like a teacher in art school that was actively dissuading people from doing that.
Yeah, I don't get that.
And I didn't get that at all. And of course, I'm always the perfect student when the teacher's like, don't use a ruler, so I make sure I bring mine to class.
Lay on the desk.
Yeah, it's like slap. But yeah, it was ridiculous. He's like, you should practice drawing circles. I'm like, or just get a stencil. That's cheating. It's like, how is that cheating?
Well,
so it's just like I use them all the time.
It's like, okay, so we can't get Pete's page back up, but it's like just the page that Pete was drawing there, right? Mm-hmm. It had had the fire escapes and it had the buildings. Had Pete tried to, just eyeball those lines, it would not have had the same look, right?
Not even close.
No, it just would not have. And I'm sure Pete's got a superbly straight line, but a ruler. What's that?
Just got a great eye.
Yeah. But I mean, it's you've got a ruler and you it's a tool. You need to use it because more times than not, it's clearly obvious when you're looking at the work. It's like, why didn't you use a ruler for this? And that's I will say this. When I look at artwork, I saw one this weekend, right? A guy who had artwork. And his, he just was freehanding all this stuff, and his perspectives were always buildings where, I'm like, I don't think you can make a building that has lines that go this way and this way together. That just doesn't work. But he was freehanding all of them, Tommy says, "What's a ruler?" Yeah, of course. And then he says, "Pete knows what a ruler is." He does, yeah.
Thousands of them on my table.
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah, it's funny. There was another teacher that said the same thing about like Photoshop. He's like, you can always tell an amateur because an amateur Photoshop would use the fill bucket. A real pro goes up to the menu and hits film. Like, it's the same thing. He's like, no. I'm just like, oh my god. I kind of lost credibility for my teacher. Then I'm like, dude, you sound ridiculous. And you're saying this in front of a class. Just.
Rob says, I still have magazines from when I did Scimitar. Swimsuit magazines were very good reference. Yeah, I bet they were. I have a drawer full of templates, ovals, French curves, circles. I have 4 different rulers within reach of my drawing table that have different uses. So, it's just one of those things. It's a tool.
Well, the thing I was going to say too is there's a big difference between fine art and commercial art. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And there's something called the deadline. And I used to teach art classes, and one thing that I used to tell the students is let's say you spent an hour getting this guy's pinky right, okay? Nobody's gonna come to you and say, I like how you spent that extra hour getting that right. But if you don't get it right, everybody and their mother is gonna notice and is gonna and that's a thankless job, but you have to, you have to.
Well, and sometimes, and that's where I think as an artist, right, you've got to make those decisions. Okay, do I spend the extra 30 minutes or an hour fixing this leg that's not quite right, or do I just cut it and go and say, all right, I see what I did, I'll make sure I do it. Learn from it, and then make sure you do it right the next time, because, like you said, it really is that hour going to earn you. Is the hour that you spend really going to earn you that much more money? And
no, obviously not. Yeah.
Yeah, right. The answer is obviously not. I mean, I don't know any instance where the answer is yes. You know?
I'm just thinking of the pinky guy. Now he gets a job drawing nothing but pinkies. So everybody just keeps turning in comic books with nobody with pinkies and gives it to this guy to draw like the ultimate pinkies in every book.
Well, okay. So we're not going to hate on this guy, right? But I'm going to use this as an example. Rob Liefeld.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the common internet joke. What's that?
Oh, I said I only have one more thing to do.
Oh, the common internet joke is that he can't draw feet, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether he can or whether he can't. I don't know. But this may be one of those decisions that Rob just said, you know what? It's faster if I just draw them and put a bunch of clouds around it. Because maybe feet's something hard for him to draw, right? And so he just decided, hey, here's clouds. That's a whole lot faster than struggling for an hour to get the feet right. I don't know. You know, yeah. I don't know if that's the answer or not. But it doesn't really affect the bigger picture of Rob's art, you know?
And it didn't really impact his success.
No,
So, I mean,
fans still love him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He would never be able to do a Quentin Tarantino film adaptation because if you see Quentin Tarantino's those feet, man.
He's a yeah. What's this? Suddenly, all the internet and feet these days.
Oh,
I don't know. Rob says the trick is knowing when to let go of an illustration and move on to the next one. Yeah. And I think that's I think that's something that's when you first start. And same thing with stories, right? I mean, you can apply this to any kind of creative task that you do. Is when do you let it go and move on to the next thing? When is it when is it done? When is it ready? When do you gotta cut and move on to the next thing? And
especially in this day of so much digital, not digital, but just so much content going at people. I mean, if you look at the amount of time people consume content to move on to the next one, even if somebody notices the mistake, they're not going to really go out of their way to remember or care.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like what did Confucius say? It was like you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Wasn't that Kenny Rogers?
No, now I just see Confucius playing Kenny Rogers in poker, and he's like,
I teach Chinese martial arts, and I pulled that on my students once in kung fu class. I'm like, you have to stay in fight, you have to run. It's like Confucius, and they were. Of course, they didn't want to call me out. They were so confused.
I would love to see that.
now I have a whole new respect for Confucius.
Yes.
Yeah. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them. All right. 10:49 here. Anybody got any final thoughts on supporting characters?
I have a question.
Okay.
Specifically for you, because of all of us, you're the one that has done the most writing, and so I'd be curious in Cat and Mouse, the original run, like how would you categorize some of the main characters, like specifically like Demon, Champion, Reach, like is that an example of like, especially with Demon and Champion, like of them sometimes being supporting, sometimes not? But I'd be curious what your thoughts are on categorizing that.
That's a fairly easy answer, I think. So the idea was Cat and Mouse. They were the characters, right? They were the main characters. It was their story. Demon kind of took a life of his own. It was not intended for him to really be more than a secondary supporting character in there, but stories can sometimes take a life of their own, and fans ended up, readers liked the character, and so it's like, okay, well, I like the character too, and so we brought him back in a bigger way. If you'll notice that he was very, very limited use in the first 4 or 5 issues, but then it gets to be stronger. And that was because we'd already had the first couple issues done before we started getting the reader feedback, and so we didn't have him in there. Same for Kunoichi. She wasn't. It wasn't intended for her to play a big role, and she never really did play a very big role in the first volume. Now, in the second volume, were you asking that, or were you asking for the first volume?
More about
okay.
You can answer.
Yeah. In the second volume, it was very intentional. I wanted her to be, I wanted Kunoichi to be the mentor role that she accidentally was in the first volume. I didn't know that's what I was doing in the first volume, but that's what she became. And so in the second volume, I'm like, okay, I intentionally need to make her this thing. And because it'd been so many years between the volumes, I wanted to bring Demon back, but I wanted to have a little bit of backstory with him. And of course, I'm talking Alex Gallimore and I are currently, as soon as he finishes the last issue of the current Cat and Mouse story, we're going to do a Demon miniseries, and that Tommy is going to ink. And I wanted to establish some things there before moving on to the series. I wanted to get some things out of the way and kind of bring him a little bit up to date before getting into that series. But I intentionally, Jesse, who is Brett's friend in the second volume, he is an intentional secondary character. And I did that because I wanted to, in the first volume we had Rossman, who was kind of an antagonistic secondary character. Well, I wanted a positive inside this time. So Jesse was set up to be Brett's friend, but who's also a police officer. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I do have one more favorite supporting character. I rewatched the Blade movies again. I really liked Whistler.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he's kind of a different supporting character because he's a little more gruff than the other ones who were more kind. So yeah, I always liked him.
Yeah.
Rob adds this. He said, "Here's the thing. If you're going to screw up, do it in the middle. And put the effort on the beginning and the end. No one will remember the middle if you stick the landing and the opening. If you stick the landing on the opening and closing."
It's true. Have you ever seen people who do that with words? Where they'll spell the word beginning like correct in the beginning and the end, and they'll misspell the word in the middle, and people can still read it because your brain only sees the beginning and the middle to identify the word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess he's got a point there.
Yeah.
Well,
I think I really believe in strong openings. In your comics. What's that? Oh, I thought I heard something. I thought I heard it echoes. I really believe in strong openings because that's the point of the traditional place of the splash page is page 1, and that was what Denny O'Neil talks about. That is like that's the hook. Your cover is designed to get the reader to pick it up off of the stands, off of the racks, right? That's what it's pick me up and look at me. Well, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to open that first page and probably flip to the second page. So if you've got something there that's going to hook them, then you've got them. Because if you've got something on those first 2 or 3 pages that makes them say, "Wow, I need to take this home with me," right? Then they're going to take it home, and then you have to end on something that makes them say, "That was a really enjoyable experience." You fill in the blanks for whatever you need, right? But that was a really enjoyable experience. I want the next one now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is excellent advice. I'm not afraid to admit this live and on air. Like Roland's been looking at my script for my comic and been going back and forth, and like that was one of the main critiques that he gave me. And like I was telling Roland before the show, I said, "Well, I have my own opinions, but I said, I trust Roland, so I started doing it. And as I was penciling it, it just kind of came alive. So I can't bow my head."
Well, I appreciate it, Curtis.
Oh, no, I appreciate it.
I'd give you a big manly embrace right now if we could, right? Oh, yeah. So supporting characters should support. I'll just sum up, right? That's what we decided. Supporting characters should support. Right. It's like we
unless you can turn them into bad guys.
That's true. And then they become something different, right?
Yeah. Then
or unless you give them their own superpowers, and then so here's one final question before we answer this. if a supporting character does move on to the role of a villain or the role of another hero, does that supporting character need to be replaced?
Yeah, I think so.
Unless the
have a
storyline
role.
is they redeem themselves and come back to a supporting character.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, that's the Winter Soldier syndrome right there, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
When he comes back. But I can see them being replaced. But of course, it's always hard, especially when they try to replace a very famous supporting character.
Yeah.
Again, back to Alfred. If somebody tried to replace Alfred, like, that would be incredibly hard to do.
Yeah.
So it would depend on the character, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so, did any of you ever watch Monk?
Yes.
The TV show
A
Monk?
little bit.
Well, the first, I forget her name now, but the first helper he had, I really liked her, right? But then she went away, and it's like, oh, I don't like the next one. I don't like the next. But then she grows on you, right? And you're like, oh, no, I like her better than the first one now, right?
Well, that's Doctor Who, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, with the helpers.
Yeah.
Well, the helpers
Or
change,
the
and the Doctor
companion.
changes, and every time the Doctor changes, everyone's like, "Oh no, this is going to be awful." I really like the last one. So you said that to the last one as well.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
Stick with it before you condemn it.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna call it a night. But as a reminder, remember everyone, I've taken my Santa hat off, and I'm not gonna put it back on for this. But remember, we've got I now turn it sideways so you can see the number. We've got 20 mystery boxes that are available. We're gonna close this out. This auction, we're gonna close it out live during the Wednesday Wham. I'll probably come on in the second hour, and then we'll just close out the auction, and we'll announce whoever's got the winning bid on each of the boxes at that point in time, and then that's what we'll do. So don't forget, you can see the link right there below me, Silverline, www.silverlinecomics.com/mystery-box, and that will take you to the page. Just scroll down and find the box that you want to bid on. And reply to the instructions are all on the website, but then just reply to my, this is box 20, this is box 15, or whatever, and that will get your bid in there. You might want to check to see if someone's bid, so that you can, if you want that particular number, you got to outbid them. But there's still several boxes. What did I say here? I haven't checked it in the time that we've been streaming, but 8, 9, 13, 15, 16, 18, and 19 all have no bids. So you can go and bid on those. And there's lots of cool stuff. This is a steal of a deal. You're getting some really sweet stuff. And the cool thing is you should get this in time for Christmas. Assuming that, we ended on Wednesday and you get payment to us, we're going to get it. There's no reason for us not to get it to FedEx immediately because it's ready to go. Rob Davis beat me to it in the comments there. Rob, we got to tell where everybody is before we say that now. So you don't jump on my lines here. Pete, where can folks find you on the interwebs?
Oh, I haven't got my banner up anymore, have I? It's Peter Clinton Art. That's Instagram's best. Twitter sometimes, Facebook more often. Or just Google it, and it just takes to my website basically. And
now you're still doing commissions, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
still
I've
doing
got
commissions.
a couple over there to do. Yes.
Is it still? Today's the 13th. Is it still possible? This is a question I'm asking. Is it still possible that these commissions might be available as Christmas presents to folks?
Probably. I don't know about shipping to the US.
Okay.
UK shipping, yes.
Okay.
I don't know international shipping.
All right. So if you're in the UK and you're listening and you want a commission from Pete, still time to get it and get it in time for Christmas. These things make great Christmas gifts. And if you're in the US and international, you can always have him send you a JPEG, and then you can print that out and wrap that up and say, this is the original art and it's on the way.
On the way.
Right?
Correct.
It's like Santa's bringing it. He just he skipped the house the first time, and he's got to come back and bring it. So you guys check that out, and the links will certainly be in all the places here, so you can go find Pete. Kurtis, what about you? Where can folks find you on the interwebs?
Sure. You can find me on Facebook, Kurtis Fujita. You can also find me through my martial arts school. You find me on Instagram and YouTube it's Tiger Crane 805, and on Facebook it's Tiger Crane.
Sweet. And we should be seeing some Shadow Ghosts probably early next year.
Yes.
Yeah.
In production.
In production. So
we're out of development and we're into production. So.
Sweet.
Nice.
So hopefully we'll start seeing some of it show up in 21, right?
Absolutely.
Excellent. That excites me. Roberta, what about
Hey.
you? Where can folks find you online? You've been kind of quiet tonight.
I've been very quiet. Sorry, I've been
That's okay.
concentrating. So mostly on Facebook under Roberta Conroy, or Instagram under Roby Conroy, and also go website robyconroy.com.
Nice. So I've been meaning to ask you, the Robicon, is that like kind of a play on the like Rubicon?
Kind of.
Kinda.
It started out that way.
Okay. I was like, because I put it up on the information and all that stuff, and I'm like, I wonder if that how did she get this particular mix of of letters to make for her webpage?
Well, it started because I went by Roby for for a period of time.
Oh, that was your nickname?
That was
Roby?
my nickname. Yeah.
Were you Roby at Malibu?
I was off and on. I mean, it
I never
hadn't quite
knew that.
stuck yet. I just
Okay.
haven't had. It was just some circles did that. So
Oh,
it was one of those things that it never really felt right when
Yes.
I had so many people not calling me that. So it's
yeah. Yeah, I have a small group of my friends, and I probably shouldn't tell you you guys this, right? I had a very small group of my friends that call me Rolo.
Rolo.
Yes, after the
that's funny.
because I was in like 7th grade when all these all these commercials came out for Rolo. You can roll a Rolo to your pal. You care now. Yeah, and they used to sing that commercial to me all the time, and so I became Rolo. But it's just a select group of like 4 or 5 people that call me that. So.
Well, I did it actually because I liked my signature better with Roby.
Yeah, no, it looks good. Yeah. Aaron, what about you? Where can folks find you on the interwebers?
Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, my name, or you can do Humphres illustration, HUMPHRES illustration. Instagram is ALH 3810 is my handle. But you can just look up Goblins, which is my comic. You'll find them on either. That'll usually hit. I think that's it. That's kind of all. I stay away from the Twitter.
Oh man, I do stay away from it as well. I mean, I try to post there obviously to promote stuff, and I try to share when I see stuff, but man, it's just I can't read too much of it because it's like, man, y'all stop this, let's talk about fun. Let's keep talking about comic books, not this other stuff, right?
Yeah, and then Webtoons, you can find my Goblins comic on Webtoons. Just search Goblins, you'll find it's the only one on there named that, I think.
And I think you sent. That's one of the links you sent me, right? So it'll be in
yeah.
Okay, good. And I am Roland Mann. You can find me at Roland Mann on Facebook, Man Roland on Twitter. You just look for. I thought I had a little caricature here. Just look for my caricature. You'll find me. It looks just like me, oddly enough. But certainly you can find all of us on the Silverline pages, silverlinecomics.com. And certainly Silverline on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And until next time, Rob Davis said it for us. All right? Make mine Silverline. All right, everybody. Let's see if I can figure out how to play this thing here and get us out of here. There we go.